Love, Listen, Talk, Repeat podcast. I'm Wendy Capewell, your relationship specialist, and this podcast is all about things relating and affecting relationships. I'll be interviewing guests who are experts in their profession, learning more about what they do and how they help others. In some episodes, I'll be sharing some insights and tips of my own. So settle back and enjoy. Hi, it's Wendy Capewell, and today I'd like to introduce Hannah Zhu. She is an accountant, a tax specialist, and she helps people to be more financially savvy, have the lifestyle they deserve, and still pay the right amount of tax. So Hannah, welcome, and tell us all about yourself.
Sure, I'm very pleased to be here. So hi everyone, my name is Hannah. So I'm a founder of Exceptional Consultancy, which is accountancy practice. It's been established since 2014. And of course, I trained as a tax accountant. But at the same time, because I work with money, I've been discovered quite a lot about other aspects of money, like relationship with money, and also how, especially the wealthy people, how the self-made millionaires, how they deal with their money and how they see their tax bill. So that's how I wave into all this concept into my day-to-day advice. That is why I believe that all of us, like business owners or professionals, we work really hard, but we deserve the kind of lifestyle we really desire.
Definitely. Okay, so you say you've learned a lot about money and the way people deal with it, because I think that's a big thing. I think that affects us all, doesn't it? Yeah. I think we can grow up either with that view. We have to be very frugal because that was the way it was when we were children, and therefore we don't take the risks. Or other people, they've had it all and therefore they feel they're entitled to it. And I think that's quite interesting. That comes into my work and it certainly resonates with me. It's quite interesting how we run our businesses, isn't it, in that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and money can be a very emotional topic as well. Yeah.
Definitely. So how does not taking care of finances affect relationships, personal and business ones?
Well, that's taking care of the finances as well as a relationship around you. That's a very big thing. First of all, money, again, is a very emotional topic. And in particular, personal relationship. There was this old saying, the number one reason for relationship breakup is about money. And I'd like to be really, really open and honest with you. I have been there in my past relationship. It's really myself and my partner, we had a very different money blueprint. And I'm more of a saver. I want to save. I want to be frugal. But he was more of a spender. I want to live an extravagant lifestyle. But then for me, I'm always a people pleaser. I'm always, if he wants to spend anything, do any expensive courses, and I sort of really deprive my needs, put it that way. It's like not something I really wanted, but then I sort of comply with him. But then it's eventually everything didn't work out. It was very, very painful experience. So for personal, that is a very, very big thing. I think especially personal relationship is really important to understand each other's financial blueprint and then know how to negotiate. And more importantly, is never give your own power away. It's okay you have a different you have a different money blueprint, but always, it's okay not to give your own power away and know your own value. And that's, again, for business relationship, like the business partner. And if you do have a share, don't share the same vision or have a different view on money, it's very similar to personal relationship, and then the business will not work out. So that's really yeah, it is really emotional topic, and it can be very personal for each other. But then it is true that number one relationship breakup is because of money.
Yeah, and I think you're so right there, or not, because sometimes one person feels, oh, I'm not very good with money, I'll leave it all up to you. And that can create problems because either that they're trusting that person to do everything right and they're not getting involved. And then they can find that the other person is not as responsible as they claim to be. Or, as you say, giving away your power and not taking responsibility. Because that's the other thing, isn't it? We have to be responsible. And
Yeah.
I think, yeah, and I think the other thing that came up for me when you were talking about businesses is that too often people don't make a formal agreement. Oh, well, you know, it's a friend, it's my husband, it's my partner, it's someone I know. But really? Do you think that's a
Yeah.
wise thing to do?
That can be a very, very tricky thing, because again, I have the very similar experience, like my friend or like my ex-partner or anything like family or friends. We always have this sort of view that have a family friend, we have a different rates. But then I realized it's not. For professional, it's still professional because the same work I do for my clients, and I add the same value to their clients and to you. So if that's professional, there's no way I have to discount my value.
I think that's a really good point because I think people do expect friends rates. And as you say, we're still offering the same value. And therefore, I think that's quite a difficult one as well, as you say. So I think it is about valuing ourselves personally and in business. You do something. I think it's different if you're doing maybe a skill swap. You know, you're exchanging. It's almost like bartering rather than using money. But I think if you're just expecting somebody to give something away for you free, then you start not valuing yourself, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Mm.
always important to value yourself. And again, for me, what I've learned from money is the income or the money is actually the exchange for value. And if we don't value ourselves, then we can not change the like fair value for others and have the money we really want.
Mm, exactly. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So, what are the tax breaks for couples that can help them improve their lifestyle and relationships? Yeah, that's an interesting kind of thing because, I mean, years ago there were things, you know, you've got kind of there were special kind of tax relief for married couples and so on. I'm going back a long time, but what's in place now that people may not understand about?
Yeah, so it's actually one of my favorite topic, like talking about the tax breaks for couples. There are quite a lot of things we can do. Of course, there's still marriage relief, like between couples, if one earning below the tax-free threshold and the other one above that, then they can transfer some tax-free thresholds. So yeah, they can save some money. Of course, now it's not a lot. I think the rule has changed. It's not really a lot, but again, it's still some money for some couples. But other things, very current thing, especially now, a lot of people have buy-to-let properties, and there's a rule change since 2017-18. And there's a one way to run, that is they can share the ownership between couples, because if you give property to your spouse and you don't have any capital gains tax, but then again you both instead of you having to put everything on you like tax and on the very, very high tax break, then you both, perhaps your spouse, have a relatively lower tax break, and then he or she will report tax in a lower break. So that is actually very practical and very good way to mitigate this kind of tax. Especially buy-to-let property is very now very, very popular thing. The other one, which is again one of my favorites, it's kind of fancy, but it can work for some people. It's for married couples if they married in the church, because the money spent on the wedding can be quite a lot. Like on average in Britain, the marriage costs £20,000. Yeah, it is a lot.
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
Yeah, but then if you can sort of after the wedding, if you donate some of the leftovers, some of the decorations, some of the stuff that can still be valuable to the church or to the charity, then that's a charitable donation. So you get some tax relief on that. Yes. It can be a bit fancy. It doesn't work for everyone, but it can work for some people.
Yeah. And I think some people, they just want this huge fancy wedding. They spend all their money on a fancy wedding, and a brilliant wedding does not make a good marriage necessarily. It's a show. And I think with £20,000 you could put a deposit on a house. You could, if you haven't already got something. And I always think about that situation where people would rather spend the money on that than their future. So that's another one. I'm sure you advise people in that way as well, Anna, because I think sometimes people they put themselves in debt before they've even started their relationship, their real relationship, don't they?
Yeah. Money plays a very, very important role, either as an individual or as a couple. So, because from my experience, either my work or when I work with a financial advisor who does a lot of inheritance tax planning, so a lot of work around marriage, around couples and family. So money plays a very, very big role in this scenario.
Doesn't it just? And it can, as you say, it can be the number one thing that will break a relationship, can't it? So, yeah. So you seem to have an awful lot of experience about finances and tax and so on. So what's the right kind of, what are you looking for in the right professional, the right financial professional, accountant or a bookkeeper or something? What is it? What do you need to look for, first of all? Because I think that's important. And then,
Yeah, so that is a very good question. Again, that reflects it's more of a business relationship. So one of the biggest mistake people can make when they seek for professional help is they believe they can't do it themselves. And then they believe when they work with the right financial professional and they are sorted. But actually it's not. Each individual, as a business owner, I'm the most close to my business. I have the primary responsibility for my finances, the same as any individual, even if you work with a financial professional. So I think it translates to the personal relationship. It's like a codependency that also exists within business relationships, especially from my experience. Like when people work with accountants, work with any financial professionals, they sort of have these things. Yeah, I'm not good at this, and you deal with everything. But actually, it's not.
No, and I think that's also going back to the relationship in a personal way, handing it over to your partner and saying, "Oh, you deal with it because I don't know anything about it." And then finding themselves in a pickle because they haven't taken responsibility for themselves. They haven't taken responsibility for the finances. And then they find, that's that whole attitude of, oh, I don't know how to do it or so on. But yeah, I think you're so right because I know I have self-assessment in my business and it clearly states on there, yes, you are responsible for this, not your accountant, not the bookkeeper, nobody else. You're responsible for this return. And I think that's the thing. People they just hand it over and assume that guy will sort it all out and I won't have to think about it. Whereas I think there is value in having an expert around, but also ensuring, asking questions and making sure that you know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and the other thing, of course, first of all, it's when you work with financial professionals, seek out for advice. Make sure you still have your own financial power. So never ever give your financial power away, and you are still responsible for your own finances. And secondly, some people are scared of asking silly questions. This actually, from my point of view, there's never a silly question because I know sometimes people don't know what they don't know. So it's okay to ask any questions.
Yeah.
And the third thing, I think it's a very big one, very powerful one. Always trust your intuition about if that's a person it's right for you, for your business, or for you, for your family, or anything. So if you feel there's a strong connection, they share the same value, and that is likely the right one for you. But of course, other due diligence check, like their qualification, their professional regulatory body, all these things you need to do, all these hard things you need to check. But then the soft side is really trusting your intuition. If you have a connection, if they are the person have a genuine interest in your business and in your success.
Yeah, and I think that's really, really wise advice, because thinking back to, a long time ago when I was employed in a company, and the CEO of the company, it was an insurance company, so therefore it was financial advisors, and it was discovered he wasn't qualified. Therefore, he shouldn't be running that company, and I think he actually, he got into real trouble over it. But yeah, I mean, he was running the company and nobody checked out his credentials. He just went with a wing and a prayer. And you're so right, because if somebody's if they're not qualified, then you've got no recourse, have you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So very good advice, I have to say, because I think that company folded then, simply because he blagged his way through it and then got caught.
Wow.
Wow, I know. It's really difficult. So yeah, I think check the credentials, as you say, make sure that they have got all the right qualification. And there's nothing wrong in asking for that, is there? Because I think sometimes people, they're scared to ask.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask. It would seem wrong, but actually I think there's something very valuable in that. I have qualifications just as you do, and it's the right, liability insurance and so on. And I think people ask to see that, and I think they're very right to do so, because they need to be protected. And it is. Otherwise, you're giving your power away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, as you said, is really important, is finding the right person for you. So how would you do that? Would you just go and talk to people, first of all, before you chose someone?
Well, there are a couple of things it might be practical to do. Is first of all, ask your trusted friends or colleagues who they're using. So by recommendation is always most reliable. And of course, if you go networking, or if you know anyone already, and write their name down as well, so you can reach out to them. And then ask the questions and have a chat with them, and then to see if you have the strong connection. So yes, by recommendation and by checking or see who you already know in your network, then you are able to, you're more likely to source the right person. There's always nothing wrong to Google anyone and to find someone on LinkedIn. In fact, there are people find me on LinkedIn and turned out to be really good business relationship. So if you do find someone more like cold or on LinkedIn, of course you will check there's anyone used them before, and if they have a good comments, good recommendation to this person. So yes, always check. Go out, seek for recommendation, and then to find the right person for you.
Yeah, and I think that's really good advice as well, because I know if I'm if I was to be working with somebody new professionally, I would ask for testimonials, but I wouldn't just, can you put me in touch with somebody you work with who could recommend you? But I would also check them out, because they could be, let's face it, there are unscrupulous people in the world, which is sad. But if you say to somebody, well, can I talk to one of your clients? They could be their uncle or their cousin, anybody. So I think it's really important that we check that person out and make sure that they are a reputable company or a reputable person or somebody that we trust.
Yeah, that's absolutely, yeah.
So what are the signs of a toxic working relationship with one of these professionals?
Well, I think we pretty much covered the biggest sign that's really, I call it like codependency, or giving the power away.
Right.
Or believe that I'm not good at it. So people say, I'm not good at numbers, or I'm scared of doing numbers. Can you sort it out for me? Right. I would say everyone has whatever it takes to be with money. And we are all doing numbers. Like when we are counting the coins, we are doing numbers. So never say we're not good at numbers, or I'm not good with money. So believe that I'm not good at it, or someone else has to take care of me. Or the other sign is someday someone will sort out all this mess for me, either a corporate job or the partner or the big client. So it's actually, it's never happened. So there's a book called Prince Charming is Not Coming. It's by Barbara Stanley. Very, very good point. It's like people are always looking for that Prince Charming, but actually he's never come. And if you are looking for someone like that, which I've been there as well, the great way is really look at what are the dream qualification that Prince Charming have, or how he or she will take care of you, but then have that power within yourself and take care of yourself that way.
Yeah. I often say that when with relationships, you fall in love and you see Prince Charming in his shiny armor on his white steed. He comes galloping along to rescue the damsel in distress, and then you blink and have another look, and you discover that actually his armor's rusty and he's riding an knackered old nag. Because that's more likely the reality, as you say, because you have that visual of somebody just coming to rescue you, and it is about taking back power, isn't it? Keeping our power and not giving it away to somebody else. And having reality checks. Yeah. I think that's really, really, really good. How do you select, on a business point of view, how would you select your own financial team to work for you?
Okay, so that's a good question. So of course, financial team, the team member can be bookkeeper, accountant, financial advisor, or lawyer, or money mindset coach, or all these people. But you don't have to have them all in one go.
You can say that's a big team.
It is a big team. If you are able to afford and if you need, then of course. But I don't suggest have everything in one go. It depends on the situation. Most of especially if I take an example as a business, most likely they started by having accountants checking in once a year. They might be doing all the bookkeeping themselves, and then having an accountant to check in to take care of to look at the tax side of things. So they started that way. And when the business grows, perhaps that business have more affordability, and that person can afford a bookkeeper to take care of the paperwork for that business. So they can start scaling that way. And when the business grows really, really rich, there's a lot of money and you don't know how to deal with it, and you want to make sure you deal with it the right way, and seek for a financial advisor, because financial advisor, they can have more advanced strategies about investments, about the pension, and even for the company, they might seek for as a corporate how they can invest your money, invest the cash in your business in a wise way.
Yeah. And I guess even for an individual, rather than even if it's not a business, I think it's always worth speaking to a financial advisor, for example, and making sure that, you know, they can give some good solid advice for your future, even if you don't have a big pot to sort of invest. I think it's worthwhile, because thinking about pensions, I think it's never too early to think about pensions, especially with the fact that I think the state pension is going to disappear in the future. And people really, they say, oh, I haven't got the money to spend now, or I haven't got the time to think about it. It's a long way off. But being not having any money when you're no longer working that's a really tough one, isn't it? So I think there's some solid advice there, Hannah. I think you brought some really solid advice.
Yeah, especially now if you are young and working for a company. I think all the businesses, even small businesses, as long as you have employee and employer are obliged to contribute to the pension on your behalf. Of course, you as an individual, you can tell your employer, no, I don't want to do it. But my suggestion is if they offer it, because it's automatically you enrolled into the scheme. And if you're eligible and if you are on the scheme, otherwise, if there's any circumstance that you can't, prevent you from doing it, I always suggest stay on the scheme, because it's not a lot of money. At the moment, in combination is about 7%, because employer will contribute something on top of your salary, and you will sacrifice a small percentage of your salary to the pension. But then the money is still yours, it's for your future, and that's paid to your pension pot before coming to you to spend. So that is really, really paying yourself first, and then
And if somebody's a bit concerned, or they're not quite sure whether their, employer pension fund, if they've got concerns about it, would you suggest talking to a tax specialist? Would that be useful?
Well, it depends on the individual. I would say for the corporate, a lot of corporate, if they offer it, they might already have somebody to talk to.
Right.
But then if that's like individual working for a small business, and then there's nobody to talk to, yes, there's always no harm to talk to somebody. Also financial advisor or this professional, they offer the initial conversation completely free of charge. So always worth having this sort of conversation, and it's never too early to do it.
No, and that's good. It's good to know, because I think some people, they get stuck on that. Although we know employers have to offer that pension scheme, we know there are some who don't, and people get stuck and they don't want to make a fuss because they'll lose their job and all of that. And I think, knowing that they can go and talk to somebody else and get some advice if they're stuck in that situation, I think it's really valuable to know that they could go and speak to somebody. So Hannah, why do we need to work on our inner and our outer relationship with money? Why is it important that they're in harmony?
Well, that is very, inner work and outer work. I don't think a lot of people discover that. But from what I have learned from those wealthy people and how they relate to their money and how they deal with their money, what I find something in common is they both understand their own financial blueprints and willing to work on their relationship with money, as well as never shy away from knowing the practicals, reading all the financial books, or knowing all this money management, or even know the basics of dealing with a tax. So Yes, we need both inner work and outer work with money. From my professional experience, because as a profession, as accountants, we've been trained to crunch numbers. We've been trained to how to calculate the profit and loss, calculate the tax, and we know all these details inside out. But what I didn't know before I started the business was the inner work with money. So when I started business, actually, I had this sort of a big thing. Like I was really scared of asking for money. So as a business, it's a big problem because I end up attracting a lot of discount shoppers, and people don't pay or pay really really late. So that's really for the business. The business wasn't making money because of this. But then up until I understand what I wasn't doing is really valuing what I do. I really work on my inner work. And in the end, I realized it's actually the inner work. It's a relationship with yourself.
Hannah, you've written a book, Discover Wealth Through Tax. Tell us about that.
Sure. So the book title is Discover Wealth Through Tax. Yes, most of the sessions are talking about tax strategies, where I put together quite a lot of case studies that what are the strategies people use, especially when it's the right time to use a limited company instead of being sole trader, or the investment that they can qualify for tax relief. So a lot on that. But this book, at the beginning, I took a slightly different view because I do believe that, first of all, we need both inner work and outer work to be financially savvy. So the first section, I actually talk about how the exercise I have done to start valuing myself and attract more income, attract actual income. And then we talk about taxes. We talk about taxable or non-taxable income. Because on one side, we learn how to value ourselves, attract more income. And on the other side, we know how to take care of it. So it's both sides, like we value ourselves and then we know the basics. Again, knowing the basics and never give your financial power away. And then that's really the book about. It's a combination of both.
Great. So where can people get hold of this book?
So at the moment, it's published on Amazon. It's a Kindle version. Of course, the paper version will come out very soon as well. So now it's in Kindle. But if you like to really read all these, the exercise I have done to start valuing myself, as well as all these case studies that the tax strategies people use, really to give you more reassurance and more clarity. And then, yes, go to Amazon and search for the title, Discover Wealth Through Tax.
Great. It's been an absolute delight talking to you today, Hannah. I think we've explored quite a lot, and it is that relationship with money which affects all our relationships around that. And I think that's a useful one for anybody, because I think our relationship with money is a big one, especially when it's so easy to put everything on the credit card and just ignore it, or just hope that it'll all go away, or not understanding, or, as you say, giving your power away to somebody else. I think you've given some really good advice there. So Hannah, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, I would suggest the best way is connect me on LinkedIn. So you can just search for my name, Hannah Su, on LinkedIn, and then I should appear mostly at the first one. And yeah, I normally the most active on LinkedIn, and I do put quite a lot of content out there as well. So if you're not on LinkedIn, I'm also on Facebook. You can also connect with me on Facebook as well, or my website, which is taxdeductiblelifestyle.com. So
Okay,
you
brilliant.
can, you can go to my website as well. Yeah.
Great. So all the details will be in the show notes, but it's also useful that you've told us. And just checking how you spell zoo, because it's Hannah, Hannah, and zoo is XU, because I think sometimes you might, how to pronounce that? So quite useful. Hannah, it's been absolutely a delight talking to you today. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And
pleasure.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed the podcast today, and you can always listen to others by clicking on my website, www.yourrelationshipspecialist.co.uk, and finding the podcast on there. You can also learn much more about me and get in touch or sign up for my newsletter. So until next time, bye for now.